is Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out of the Fog. I'm your host, Laurabel Mba. So we got a bit of an interesting episode for you tonight. We'll be joined by Barbra Bardot from Kaleidoscope and get a little bit to see what goes on there. We'll also be joined by Charlie Murphy from the Quad NL. So I can't wait to show you all about that. So sit back, relax, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm now joined by the Barbra Bardot, part owner of Kaleidoscope Drag Bar and Lounge. Barbra, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Not as excited as I am to have you seated across from me right now. So, Kaleidoscope. For the viewers who don't know, what is Kaleidoscope?
So Kaleidoscope Drag Lounge and Restaurant. We are an all-ages, full-service bar and restaurant. Honestly, the first of its kind in the province. We are open 6 days a week right now.
Okay.
We have shows 5 days a week, and at all times. So you don't have to go see a drag show after 10 p.m. now. You can go nice and early and have a nice meal with your whole family.
Okay, so what brought Kaleidoscope to life?
Honestly, first of all, I can't even believe it's a thing.
Okay.
If you had told me 5 years ago that this is what would be my life.
Pinch yourself a little bit?
I would, yeah, like I'd just call you a liar.
It's okay.
But it was really, we wanted a space where the queer community and allies could go any day of the week and feel welcome and safe, and that they know that they would find people that are looking for that same safe space. So the goal is to make sure everyone feels welcome in that community, and everyone has a home away from home. Where you can just go and have fun. And I started doing drag when I lived in Toronto.
Okay.
And I lived pretty close to the gay village there, and you could go to a drag show at multiple bars any day a week. Here, there are other establishments and other businesses have produced shows, and performers have produced shows elsewhere. There's tons of drag, and not just St. John's, but Newfoundland and Labrador. But there wasn't like a home base, and so the goal was to be that home base and a place you can always go and find a friend or someone who will support you and love you.
So we can't talk about the inclusivity of the drag space and how welcoming it is without talking a little bit about the incident about Q in the US a few weeks ago. What was that like for your community and your staff and you guys as an organization?
I mean, whenever you hear about a tragedy like that, it really is devastating, and it impacts everyone in different ways, but it's just a reminder of how important a space like Kaleidoscope is. It's scary, like to just know that there's that much hate still in the world and things like that can happen. It makes our mission at Kaleidoscope feel that much more important, and like that what we're doing is purposeful and needed.
I'm really glad to hear that, and it's really touching. So, your mission at Kaleidoscope is to create an inclusive, welcoming space for queer folk and allies. What is it like as a drag performer to now have a home base that you can call yours?
It's so much fun. I don't, when I go into the bar, I don't call it work. because it never feels like work when I'm there. I'm just literally living my dream. And even if I'm scrubbing dishes in the back, it's still, and I have scrubbed dishes in full drag in the back.
You're
On
better than I.
a busy night, the staff is running all over the place, and I'm just back there sweating in my wig. But it's pretty surreal. Like I'm very honored to have the opportunity now to book other performers and provide a space for local performers to shine. Sometimes I kind of feel like Cher in Burlesque. She like owns the club and
Yes.
Performs there. But it's been nice because I'm there regularly performing, and if I'm not performing, I'm there out of drag and serving, or I find I'm getting to know so many people and really becoming friends with so many of our patrons. And then they come to the shows, and I know what their favorite numbers are and what their favorite outfits are. And if the show's not super busy on an off night, and a couple regulars come, I'll say, well, you pick the numbers, you know what I do. So it's so much fun to just like experiment and try new things and have a blast while we're doing it. Like, if we're not having fun, we're not doing it right. So it's always a fun time at Kaleidoscope.
So what would it be, the journey like be for someone who's, let's say, an up-and-coming drag performer, and they're like, I want to find a home at Kaleidoscope. How do they go about finding a home?
So right on our Instagram, which is at Kaleidoscope Drag, we have a performer application form.
Okay.
So they can fill all that out there. Also reaching out to us on our Instagram, and especially coming to the bar too. And coming in drag is always so much fun. On a Friday or Saturday night, if someone came in drag and they went, hey, can I do a number? We'd say, absolutely. And on Thursdays, actually, we have an open stage. So that's a great way to come in, and actually some of our open stage performers have now been booked and perform regularly at Kaleidoscope. So it's a fun way to come out and practice, and even for some veteran drag performers, it's fun to go out to the open stage and try something new that you wouldn't do.
Okay, that's so cool. So I know you say you're a family-friendly, all-inclusive kind of restaurant and bar. So what does that look like?
Well, so we are all ages until 8:30 every single night,
Okay.
As long as the minor comes with an adult
Yes.
to accompany them. The all ages shows, the performers are very aware it's all ages, so we are appropriate. But it's like drag is not inappropriate.
No.
Drag is now very mainstream. It's also inspiring and motivating to so many youth to see someone, especially if they might be identifying as queer or even just feeling a bit different at school, to then come and see someone like myself who felt that same way when I was in school, and now I get to stand up on a stage and people celebrate me for who I am. And I didn't know that that would always be where I would end up. So it's nice to invite families into the space and show families that queerness is awesome. It's nothing to be afraid of. We had a family pride party.
Oh.
And I will never forget this. It was one of my favorite days at Kaleidoscope so far. But we were playing some games, doing some stuff, and it was a busy, busy show. Quite a few minors were there. And there was a table, there was I think it was 4 kids in the family. And I asked them their names when I was performing, and one of them had told me their name. And I noticed they went to the bathroom with their mom, and they told me their name, and they were a boy.
Yeah.
Then they went to the bathroom, came out now in a dress and wig, 7 years old, with their mom. And I went, oh my gosh, what is your name? And they introduced themselves as Christina. And I went, Christina, do you want to do a number? And she immediately said yes. I brought her into the back, asked her if she was nervous and stressed, and she said, I'm doing fine, it's okay. And I went, do you want me to come out with you? Do you want to, how do you want to do this? Because I don't want you to be too scared. And she went, oh, I will enter on my own, thank you. So she was ready to be a star, and she actually made $50 in tips while she performed.
Well then.
So we've had kids and elders in the space all at the same time. And those, the all ages shows are really my favorites, because it's just so special to be dancing around with a bunch of little ones and they're just going to grow up to be awesome, cool people who are welcoming and accepting to anyone.
So that's really amazing. Can we talk a little bit about your journey and your story to becoming Barbra Bardot? So what was that like for you?
So I've been doing drag for over 4 years now.
Yeah.
My background is in musical theater performance. So when I was in teachers college, I really missed performing. So my friend in Toronto is Laurabel Mba, my drag mother.
Okay.
And one day she just signed me up for a competition and said, "You're doing it." And she taught me how to do my makeup, and I still pretty much use all the same products to this day. Yeah, and it just kind of grew from there. In Toronto, I ended up, by the time I left, was performing 2 or 3 times a month, but moved to Newfoundland, and Newfoundland made me a star. When I moved here, the confidence the audience gave me, I get emotional thinking about it because
Absolutely okay.
I'm come from away who's here to stay. I'm never leaving this place because the community welcomed me with open arms and has been so supportive. And I've met so many amazing friends. The 2 other co-owners of Kaleidoscope, Beth Sears and Lavender Blonde, also a drag performer. They're both Red Seal chefs, so they handle the restaurant side of things. You should see Lavender Blonde at the grill with her wig on. It's definitely a fire hazard. But yeah, we're just honored to be doing this, and I can't believe drag has taken me to where it has. I thought it was gonna be like a hobby on the side, and now it's like 2 full-time jobs.
So you're very busy. What would you want our viewers to know about drag or Kaleidoscope as a whole?
I want them to know that Kaleidoscope is for every single person, unless you're a hateful person, then you're not welcome. But if you lead with love, please come on down. It's not just for queer people. We want people of all ages and people of all genders and orientations to come out and enjoy the space and spread the word. We have shows all the time. Come check them out, and all different types of shows. So if you're not into that typical drag show where someone's lip syncing and dancing around, we have bingo. We have drag story times, brunch. Ooh, that's the typical drag show where we dance around, but there's eggs, it's fun. Yeah, and we're open to ideas too. So if someone has a killer idea or they want to do something, let us know. If you want to have your Christmas party at Kaleidoscope, let us know. Oh, we're also a nightclub.
Okay.
Fridays and Saturdays, upstairs, every single week, rotating DJs of all types. We try to keep it different. I'm DJing tonight.
Okay. So before I let you go, what are the hours? So now that I know that I'm going to Kaleidoscope.
Yes. So right now, the only day that we're not open, kind of our regular hours, is Tuesday. Okay. Everyone needs a day of rest.
Beauty sleep.
Right now, we have been opening up late Tuesday nights for Turn Up Tuesday. We open the nightclub to give it a shot. But so every day we open up at 4 o'clock right now. On Sundays, we're open from noon onward. When we get back to summer, we'll be open during the day as well. Okay. Yeah, and come try the food. The food is so good. It's delicious. Some of the later shows, people are already drinking, so they don't snack on it. But the food is amazing. Okay. Come for lunch. Well, at 4.
Late lunch.
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about Kaleidoscope and about your personal journey.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you at the bar.
Absolutely. And we'll be right back, everyone. And we are back with Charlie Murphy from Quadrangle. Charlie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm so excited to have you to talk a little bit about what quad is. So let's start there.
Totally. So Quad is trying to formulate and have a physical location for the 2S LGBTQI plus community of Newfoundland and Labrador. We're one of the last 3 remaining provinces or territories within Canada that doesn't have dedicated space for 2S LGBTQI plus folks. And it's basically just making a building or a location that people can come in and feel comfortable, whether that's watching a movie together, cooking together, playing video games together, or kind of accessing services around peer support, counseling, those kind of pieces that we're not seeing dedicated services for.
So you guys have been working in a virtual space since your inception. So when did you guys start?
Yeah, so technically we started in 2012, so it's about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, but we started off as a steering committee, and so we had a small group of people kind of asking the questions of why doesn't something like this exist already? Why are we doing that work in 2012? And then in 2015, we registered as a non-for-profit, and we started doing a lot more on-the-ground work. And then from there, in 2019, we got registered as a non-for-profit, or as a charity, sorry. And then 2020, we got our first big kind of funding. And then ever since that, we've been moving steadily ahead. But over the last 2 years is where you've been seeing a lot of that uptake and that buzz.
So in the last 2 years, while you've been operating in a virtual space, what kind of services and programs have you guys been able to provide?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that we've been doing is webinars or seminars online or gatherings online. But then we've also done things like our visibility program. So we've been giving out free stickers, buttons, pins, flags, magnets, all around visibility and support. We've been doing peer support. So we've been doing something that we call High Tea, which is bi-weekly. Every other Sunday, and we don't call it peer support, but when you get people together, people start talking about their challenges or their successes, so it kind of is, but it's not labeled. So that's kind of the main piece that we're doing right now. And then we've been doing some community outings as well, so we've been kind of gathering and doing a walk around the 2S LGBTQI plus history in St. John's, or having a picnic, or going to the rooms, or stuff like that as well.
That's so cool. I did hear about the walk recently, so
Yeah.
it's really great to see that it is making its way out into community, into public spaces. So I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the shooting that recently happened in the U.S. at the Club Q. How has that affected the community that you support?
Well, I mean, when we look at those kind of locations like bars, those are historically known as our safe spaces. And even though that didn't happen here in St. John's, that feeling trickles through, right? Are we safe to go to our locations here? Are we okay to hold hands when we're in, walking down the street or going to a restaurant together? So I would say it adds a lot of uncertainty and fear, and we see a lot of that being amplified online when you have individuals targeting the trans and non-binary community as well. So that kind of has that trickle effect of can it happen here? A lot of questioning. Can we be safe when we're going to our locations that we feel comfortable in? But what I've said to many people who've reached out to us already, what could we be doing more? It's just still be seen thriving, still go out, still be together in groups, but maybe have a buddy system and be cautious and just be aware.
So recently, I know you guys received a decent amount of funding that's allowing you to launch a program that you're very excited about. What is that?
So we got $25,000 from Bell Let's Talk, and we got to partner with the Jacob Putter Memorial Foundation, and we're doing a counsel line. So basically every Friday now there's 4 slots that individuals can kind of request to have with the counselor, and it's province-wide, and that could be through telephone, that could be through video chat, that could be through text, or drop-in if you're in the metro area.
Oh my God, so that's accessible to everyone within the province?
Yeah,
okay.
It's super exciting, and we're focusing so much that we can even boost it up even more to get more funding and potentially make that something that is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, with more counselors if possible. We're really excited to be partnering with Jacob Putter Memorial Foundation for that reason. They're well known in that sphere, and the counselor that's currently working with us is part of the community, so they understand that nothing for us without us.
See, that was going to be my next question. How was the counselor included and inclusive of the community that they were going to serve? So that's great to hear. So are there any restrictions for people reaching out to you in terms of what services they can find with that?
Yeah, so it really depends on how the counselors are at that location. But really from our side, there is no restrictions based on what it is. But there could potentially be the age of 12 to 35 when it comes to counseling.
So that's exciting to know. So, and when people think of Quad, the fact that you guys have been working in a virtual space has allowed you to kind of reach throughout the province. What kind of reception have you guys found as an organization?
Really good over the last 2 years, actually. We have about 42, I think, partners now that are like our community partners that we kind of reach out to when we do something.
Okay.
And we've been doing a lot of work where we can kind of reach out to Labrador. So partnering with groups like Safe Alliance or any of the Status of Women councils and centres across the province have been really a huge supporter of us. Choices for Youth is another really huge supporter of ours. So we're finding these bigger groups that have such a huge reach kind of wanting to support us and wanting us to really be incubated and grow and become something bigger than just online.
So speaking of the fact that you guys are just online, what if to make a physical location a reality, what is needed to make Quad a space?
So funding, so much funding. We've been trying to go after core funding from our provincial government. That's kind of the main thing, so that we have the stability of staff. That's huge, so that people have that constant stability of like, I know where I can get a service, I know where I can get that comfort or that need. And then the physical building is a lot of money. We want to make sure if it is a reno that it's going to be updated with everything that needs to be to code, but also accessible. And then when we look at accessibility, it's not just the building, like everyone has to be able to get into it, but also everyone has to be able to get to it. So we want it to be visible in like the downtown core potentially, or somewhere in that region, but also everyone has to be able to walk to it, drive to it, bus to it, cab to it, whatever that is, and having it out in, say, an area that no one can get to, or only a certain selection of people can get to, really does limit the accessibility of a building like this. The other things that we've been looking at to make it feasible or possible is treating it like an incubator for 2S LGBTQI+ businesses. So we've actually have a few grants now in, or opportunities looking at the feasibility of having an incubator as part of the center.
Oh my God, that's really cool. That's really exciting to bring social enterprise for 2SQ LGBTQIA individuals into something more of a reality.
Yeah.
So as we think of the future of Quad and the dream of the reality of Quad, what do you see? Oh,
I see a building that is stunning, that can really grab your attention, that's colorful, that's dynamic. Not another brick building that that people can't get into. I see it being very lively. I see it being very multi-purposed and used in different capacities. I see the community accessing it for that incubation piece, like being able to start a business and say like, you can have your own thing inside something that is also supporting the community is really magical to me. But then also focusing away from things like the sad statistics. Like, we don't want to only be talking about counseling. We don't only want to be talking about peer support. We want people to realize that we are a community that thrives, that we're here, that we're queer, that we're empowered. So doing fun things, having movie nights like I mentioned before, having cooking together so that we have like a monthly meal that we can just sit down and have a chat, partnering with other groups and bringing them into that space and us going into their space. I really see the physical space as more so the visibility aspect, right? Like that our provincial government, our federal government sees us and validates us and wants to invest in us. But I also see that space as allowing us to invest in other things and in other groups.
So we've talked about what it means on a little bit of a minute level, but what would it mean, what does Quad mean to the community?
I think it means like acceptance and validation. Like, I look at places like Halifax and Vancouver, and they still have, the struggles we're always talking about, like mental health and peer support and counseling and finding connection. But what they have is a little bit of a window to allow people to find those resources, right? Where right now, a lot of things are within the community. You're like asking, like, do you know somebody? Do you have a contact? But if we had a physical space where everything was kind of like there, you wouldn't have to ask anybody anything. If you were afraid of coming out, you wouldn't have to be shy about it. You'd be able to kind of experience it on your own pace and walk into that space, see the resources, and leave with whatever you needed at that time. Right now, a lot of it is confusion. A lot of it is running around figuring out like what group can give me the one thing I need, or where can I get that resource. Having a location kind of mitigates a lot of that struggle.
That's very true. If we can take a minute to go back again to talk a little bit about what resources exactly right now the Quad is able to offer the community.
Yeah, so we do workshops, so things around inclusion. We do our visibility program, so anyone who's looking for like a sticker, a button, a pin, a flag, whatever, that's all free. We do our counseling line, which is all free on Fridays. We do our Wellness Wednesdays, which is free. It's basically you and our program facilitator just having a chat, right? Like talking it out, whether that's you had a good day, a bad day, what have you, and that's all Wednesday. We do our community outings, so they're slowly picking back up. We were doing them in the summer because we had really good weather and we had funding, and we got more funding now for that. So those will be things like eating together, going for a walk together, going bowling together, going to a movie together, and that's based with our program facilitator. So they're coming up with like what we could do for the next few months, all free. And then that's kind of it right now, really. We do partner with other groups. So currently we're partnering with CBRC, which is the Community-Based Research Center, and we're doing things around sexual health and reproductive health. And so there's stuff like that that people could be part of. And we're always looking for new ways to partner and work with people.
So where can we find Quad?
Yeah, so the best place to find us is on social media or on our website. So if you go to www.thequadnl.com, you'll find everything that we're offering. You'll see some of our history. You'll see ads and press that we've been in. And then you'll see us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
So if you had one last thing to leave our viewers with, what would you want them to know?
Talk about us. Like, talk about what we're doing. Talk to your MHA. Talk to a minister. Tell people that without the funds to actually make this happen, it's going to be a constant struggle. This conversation for physical space has been going on for 30 plus years. It's not something that's happened 10 years ago or even 2 years ago when we started getting the uptake. It's literally been 30 plus years.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back, everyone. I want to give a very special thank you to my guests today. I want to thank Barbra Bardot for stopping by with all her fabulousness. And if you're interested in checking out what goes down at the Kaleidoscope Bar and Lounge, you definitely should. I also want to thank Charlie Murphy for talking to us about Quad NL. And if you're looking to advocate on their behalf, please reach out to your local MHA. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
From coast to coast, all across Canada, there's something very special going on. It's time to show your support. Time to spread the word.